Hi everyone, my name is Andy Denuzzo, and I am part of the group that's talking about adolescence across cultures. My group is myself, Alan Diaz, and Marilyn Doucette. So my part of the project was the Jewish culture, and one quote that I found during my research that I felt summed up the feelings and the relationships between the culture was, "This made me realize how fortunate we were to be a part of a culture that recognizes the importance of this life stage and has a ritual to mark it, a ritual that we found we could use as a point of both reference and of departure." So to understand the Jewish culture, here are a few facts. More than 80% of the Jewish population lives in Israel and America. This is because they fled from Adolf Hitler after the Holocaust. The Jewish population can range from 5.7 million all the way to 12 million. This is due to the varying definitions of what it means to be a Jew. For example, some Jews practice the religion while some do not. It has taken roughly 70 years for the Jews to reach pre-Holocaust numbers. America provided a place for Jewish culture to thrive. However, America wasn't always welcoming. And 65% of the Jewish population live in New York, California, Florida, New Jersey, and Illinois. How do the Jews celebrate coming of age? The main coming of age celebration for Jews are bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvah ceremonies. We believe strongly in the need for transition into adolescence to be marked and celebrated. The purpose is the rite of passage in the community as an adult. This occurs around age 13. Why? Because we could begin to see physical and neurological changes. This signifies entry into adolescence. The process leading to bar and bat mitzvah can acknowledge the personal task of identity construction and values clarification, as well as signifying increased autonomy, and then these 13-year-olds will begin to rely on a peer group to set standards for behaviors and values. This is also a time of learning, family growth, and transformation. So there can be traditional and non-traditional bar mitzvahs and bat mitzvahs. Traditionals, most synagogues require a minimum number of years of Jewish schooling before they can have a ceremony in the synagogue. Jewish enrollment peaks about 10 to 13 years old and then drastically falls. They're requires learning a pasha and singing in front of the synagogue. A pasha is a verse or verses from the Torah. And then it appeases the rabbis, religious leaders, teachers, family members, and participants. While non-traditional, it sways more towards modernity, so they have extravagant ceremonies and celebrations. They are allowed to have non-Jews participating, for instance, if there's a non-Jewish family member or parent. They are not done in a synagogue, and it is what the participant and family feel is most relevant, not what the rabbis and religious leaders feel. So, a quick bar and bat mitzvah history. The direct translation is son of the commandment. Until the 20th century, it was only for boys. To this day, in Orthodox Judaism, it remains this way. Progressive and Reform Judaism now have opened up bar mitzvahs or bat mitzvahs to boys and girls. Contemporary feminism caused the parallel public ritual ceremonies in 1922. That's when they changed to allow females to join. And then bar mitzvah is male, bat mitzvah is female. And then the first Talmudic reference to this religious coming of age was based upon the responsibility of boys 13 years and older to begin following all commandments. Until a boy has a bar mitzvah, his father is held responsible for all religious sins. As soon as the boy becomes 13 years, the father said a blessing, thanking God for freeing him from the burden of his child's religious failings. The Talmud make reference to the idea that the contract made by a Jew of 13 years old is binding. And then there are 3 stages to the bat and bar mitzvah. There's the separation, which is between childhood and maturity. There's the liminal, which is the teaching phase. And there's aggregation, which is the community recognizes autonomy. And then adolescence in Judaism. One of the benefits of the process of coming age in the Jewish culture is that the young adults build a strong support system. After traditional bar mitzvahs, they will have the church community that they have recently been welcomed into. In a non-traditional experience, they will have their close family and friends. If one non-traditional experience, he chose to ask 13 individuals to walk with him through his year leading up to his 13th birthday, which then led those individuals become a support system throughout the rest of his life after his 13th birthday and bat mitzvah. And then now they will have standards and morals guiding their life. When they were a child, their actions were forgiven because they were under their father's authority, but now they are full-fledged members of the church and community and are responsible for themselves. And then here are my references. Thank you.
Rumspringa, the Amish coming of age tradition. For the Amish, culture and religion are intertwined to the point where it is hard to separate the two. Indeed, it is a culture of faith. So who are the Amish? It is the members of a Christian sect that separated from the Mennonites in the 17th century. Amish have been in the United States since the 18th century. Thanks to several centuries of church growth and expansion and division, more than 25 different Amish affiliations exist in North America. These affiliations are further divided into approximately 333 church districts. Amish settlements are located in 27 states and in Canada. What is more interesting, though, is that there is no central religious authority. Each Amish district must make decisions about what is and is not allowed for its members on matters both large and small. Consequently, what might be permissible in one Amish community may be forbidden in another. Many outsiders might consider all Amish to be conservative, but even in their districts, conservatism covers a wide range. So what Amish means? They wear some forms of distinctive plain clothing. They worship in each other's homes rather than in church buildings. They do not connect their homes with public utilities. They use horse and buggies as primary means of transportation. They limit formal education to the 8th grade. They live in rural communities. They emphasize an agrarian lifestyle. They are pacifists. They choose their religious leaders through divine appointments by drawing lots. They speak German as a dialect, and it is their primary language. They value the history of their people and their martyrs' heritage, and they adhere to a statement of faith known as the 18 Articles. But what is Rumspringa? Rumspringa is the Amish ritual that lets the youth of their community a chance to experience freedom before they are expected to fully dedicate to the religion. And Rumspringa can last from age 16 to 26. For such conservative beliefs, many wonder, how do adolescents fare in this type of upbringing? Amish kids encounter the same dangers and challenges as do most adolescent teens, but it is more concentrated than children of their age group in other cultures. Two main reasons. One is that they arrive at adolescence after childhoods that are far more sheltered and structured. And second, Amish teens begin Rumspringa journey carrying the weighty baggage consisting of the moral imperatives, biblical precepts, and the complex sets of rules that have been taught to them from little on up. So who does Rumspringa? Rumspringa is only for the youth of the Amish communities. It is one of the biggest things that for any Amish person, because it is a sign of trust that not only you, your family, but your whole community trust you enough to go on Rumspringa. This occurs when teens reach the age of 16. They enter a life stage known as Rumspringa, which stretches until baptism or marriage, depending on the Amish subgroup. Rumspringa is an adolescent rite of passage, and some parents take more hands-off approach to their parenting their teens than others do. Their social lives become more independent from their families. So at this point, we are asking, why do they do Rumspringa? Well, the Amish believe that when a person is of age, they are able to make their own choices when it comes to their individual faith. Rumspringa gives youth a time to decide and experiment with their faith before they are fully baptized. The Amish youth live stuck between two authorities during the time of Rumspringa. They move out from under the authority of their parents, but they are still free from the authority of the church because they are not yet baptized. These years are a liminal time in which teens have more independence than they did as children, and will have more freedom than they will if they decide to join the church. So the community's expectation is that the young Amish will end their Rumspringa by agreeing to be married and concurrently make their commitment to be baptized or to join the church. The further expectation is that after marriage, the pair will settle down, have children, and continue with the faith culture expectation. At stake, though, for the Amish community in the Rumspringa process is nothing less than the survival of their sect and their way of life. For if an unbaptized children venture into the world at 16 but do not return to the fold in sufficient numbers, the sect will dwindle and die out. It is a tremendous risk for Amish to take in permitting their adolescents into Rumspringa. The threat is these children, once let loose, may never return. But the gamble must be chanced, because its members sense the threat of not permitting Rumspringa is even greater. Absent a Rumspringa process, there will be a higher probability of loss of many more Amish youth succumbing to the lure of the forbidden, and perhaps even after baptism and marriage. The Amish hope that the experience will inoculate the youth against the strong pull of the forbidden by dosing them with a vaccine of a little worldly experience. Their gamble is also based on the notion that there is no firmer adhesive bond to a faith and way of life than a fully chosen one. It in this case, after Rumspringa and having sampled some of the available alternative ways of living. So how long does Rumspringa last? Due to the gravity of this decision, Rumspringa can last anywhere between 1 day to 10 years. Rumspringa lasts differently for each teenager, and you're not officially off Rumspringa until you come home and get baptized. There is no expectance as to how long it should take you, but once you come back, you cannot return to the real world. And when a person decides that they want to be baptized, they must follow the process all the way through, and once baptized, members are bound to the Amish faith for the rest of their lives.
Hi guys, my name is Alan. I'll be doing my part of the project on Hispanic culture. Today we will be getting a better understanding of the following pieces: knowledge of cultural background, the religious aspects of Hispanic cultures and how it influences life and rise to adulthood, such as baptism, first communion, all the way up to cultural traditions. General sense from a geography standpoint. According to Finnish population estimates in 2016, Hispanic ethnicity make up about 57.7 million people in the United States. It's about 18%, with the majority of Hispanics living in the state of California, New Mexico, and Texas. From a religious standpoint, it is estimated about 87% of Hispanics are Catholic Christians. This has had a tremendous effect on the way how Catholic traditions interact with the daily lives of these people. With the majority of Hispanics representing the Roman Catholic Church, Hispanic experience cultural traditions that reflect on their religion during infant baptism and the first communion into marriage. Hispanic traditions into adulthood. As mentioned previously, Hispanics experience cultural traditions through religion. Although we mentioned how the root of Catholicism used in Hispanic cultures today comes from the European Roman Empire, Hispanics typically encounter a different type of Catholicism than the Europeans do, where it is viewed as more of a moralistic, more values and norms compared to the legalistic, as opposed to being a governed law. There seems to be a tremendous emphasis in wearing religious figures' jewelry, keeping altars at home, saying grace before meals, and reading the Bible. As mentioned before, as this becomes embedded in the second generation of children, it is easy to see why the tradition is passed from generation to generation throughout the childhood of Hispanic preteens. To continue off of that, the Hispanic culture practices the Roman rituals where the infant baptism is looked upon as the initial acceptance of the Holy Spirit, where the sin of the birth is forgiven. Later in life, the child completes a series and their first communion, where he or she will undergo religious-based courses to obtain knowledge of the religion prior to receiving the body and blood of Christ. Traditions to becoming a woman. Since we did so much work on feminism throughout this course, I thought it'd be a good idea to do a subject on this. A quinceañera in most Spanish-speaking countries in the America is a girl's 15th birthday called a quinceañera, honored. It's an honored ritual passage which signifies the becoming of a woman. The word quinceañera is made up of a Spanish word called 15 and years, and can refer to both celebration and the woman turning 15. Quinceañeras resemblance as a wedding. It has a resemblance as a wedding. It is an event that resembles many aspects of a wedding, the marriage ceremony, such as, the family, the dress, the cake, the gifts, the most significant, the money. It's no secret that quinceañeras are often costly as weddings. So I did an interview. I interviewed my grandma, which she experienced a quinceañera. I would have a picture, but when I asked, she said no. I'm not gonna argue with my grandma. So yeah, and I would have uploaded a video, but she doesn't speak English, so I'd prefer to translate it for you guys. And I asked her, based off your experience, how would you perceive a young girl's experience of having a quinceañera? When she said, I remember at that time, I felt a lot of joy of being able to experience a cultural tradition with friends and family. I look at it as an important aspect in every girl's life because it forms a connection with God, and to signify that you are ready for life as an adult woman. She almost, to translate it a little bit better, she almost used it as a guidance, a way to take the proper steps into becoming a woman of God. And so that's how she described it. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed.